Good evening, all, and thank you for joining us today. Let us start the session immediately. I am Suvarna Jadhav, working with Cloud.in as a strategic partnership and alliance manager. Welcome to the meetup session Simplifying Governance with AWS Control Tower. Are you struggling to maintain consistent security and compliances across your growing AWS environment? Or are your teams deploying resources outside your established policies? Do you find managing multiple AWS accounts a complex and time-consuming task? If your answer is yes to any of these questions, then you are not alone. Many organizations face the challenges of scaling their AWS footprint while maintaining control and security. By the end of this session, you will gain an understanding on how AWS Control Tower simplifies governance and the best practices for implementing the AWS Control Tower. Before starting the session, I would like to mention a few points. All attendees are muted by default and cannot be unmuted during the session. We will have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. If in case you have any questions in between, please raise an electronic hand to grab speaker's attention, or you can ask a question through the question section. For today's session, we have Siddhi Bhilare and Riddhi Shah as a speaker. Both are from Cloud.in Cloud Solution Architect team. As a part of the Solution Architect team, both have expertise in delivering solutions by employing AWS best practices, leveraging the wide range of available AWS services. Welcome Siddhi, welcome Riddhi. I will request Siddhi to start the session.
Yeah, thank you, Swarga ma'am. Hello, everyone. Good evening. This side Siddhi here. So today we'll specifically learn about AWS Control Tower, like what is Control Tower and how Control Tower will simplify your governance model. So given on the screen, this is the agenda for today. Moving forward, so we'll start with what is Control Tower. So basically, managing multiple AWS accounts manually can, really be a challenge. So many organizations struggle with ensuring security or enforcing compliance and maintaining visibility across different accounts. So this is exactly where AWS Control Tower comes in. So basically, AWS Control Tower like automates the setup and governance of multi AWS accounts, and also it provides a centralized location where you can monitor all your AWS accounts and apply security best practices. So instead of like manually configuring security policies and access controls for each particular account, AWS Control Tower will help you to define blueprints that will also ensure that accounts follow best practices for from a very beginning. Next are these are some key features like where how Control Tower can help you. So first one is guardrails. So guardrail is one of like most powerful feature of AWS Control Tower, you can say. So in guardrails, there are predefined policies that enforce security and like compliance across AWS accounts under your control. So these guardrails are of like two types. First is preventive guardrails, and the next is detective guardrails. So what is preventive guardrails? So preventive guardrails are like they ensure that any risky actions or any malicious actions are blocked before they happen. So, for example, you can prevent users from creating public S3 bucket. Like you can restrict their access, reducing the risk of data leaks. Next is a detective guardrail. So, detective guardrail is something that continuously monitor your AWS environment and something which is best for compliance violations. For instance, like if someone creates an unencrypted EBS volume, so there the system detects it and send an alerts to the administrators. So these are the two types of guardrails which are provided by AWS Control, which are like very helpful while setting up the control towers. So next is account factory. So account factory is something like automated provisioning of the new AWS account. So for like organizations that needs to scale quickly and like they needs creating multiple AWS accounts. So creating it manually is like inefficient. So AWS Control Tower like offers you this remarkable feature called account factory, which automates the provisioning of AWS accounts. So it also ensures that all security and all networking and compliance settings are in place from day one. So when a new team or department in an organization needs an AWS account, so instead of creating it manually and setting up the all permissions and IAM roles manually, AWS Control Tower's account factory feature does it all automatically. Next is logging and monitoring. So visibility is crucial when managing multiple AWS accounts. Like you need to have all the visibility, like what is going on in the account, what all are the services that are launched, and how is the health of the services. So without proper monitoring, it's uh, easy to miss security incidents and misconfigurations or compliance violations. So AWS, what does AWS Control Tower does? It integrates with AWS monitoring tools like CloudTrail and Config to provide us with the centralized logging and governance visibility. So all these monitoring AWS Control Tower does with using AWS CloudTrail, that are the which where it logs every action taken into AWS environment. Like even if someone launches an EC2 instance or even any small size of volume is being created, every action is being recorded as an event history in Control Tower. So next service that you can integrate for monitoring with Control Tower is AWS Config. So it continuously tracks AWS resource configuration, and also it also detects like non-compliant changes. So next question is, why does this matter? So without proper monitoring and security incidents can go unnoticed. So with AWS Control Tower, all the governance activities are logged and like monitor in one place, ensuring a complete like transparency and compliance. So using all these monitoring tools like control CloudTrail, Config, or Security Hub, administrators can proactively detect the security risk, misconfigurations, or any malicious activity within the AWS account. Next is AWS. How does the control tower simplifies the governance? So simply like first already conveyed that simplifying multi-account management. So managing multiple AWS accounts manually can be a complex and also time consuming. So AWS Control Tower will help you provide a structure and a scalable AWS environment that will make managing multiple AWS accounts much simpler. So firstly, it will provide you with a structured approach to AWS account. Like instead of having a disorganized collection of AWS accounts, Control Tower creates a well structured like hierarchy kind of a thing using AWS organization. So it also applies a predefined policies and best practices right from the start, ensuring that each and every new account follows the same security and compliance rules. Secondly, it also centralize account creation and policy enforcement. So, like when a new account is needed, Control Tower will like automatically provision it with the correct configurations. Like said that it already has a predefined configuration list, so you do not need to align all the configurations again. It will automatically provision it with a correct configuration. And security settings like networking rules and compliance policies are all applied consistently across every account. So this will reduce the risk of human error, and also this will ensure that every AWS account is secure and secure and compliant from the day one. Finally, it reduces operational overhead with automation. So this is one of the great features. Like instead of manually configuring each account, it will automate. Control Tower will automate the setup and governance process. So this means like your team can also focus on innovation and business growth instead of spending time on repetitive tasks. So next is ensuring compliance and security. So security is like the major concern and like major important focused area of every organization or every company, we can say. So security and compliance are the top concerns for each organization using the cloud, whoever are using the cloud. So without a strong governance model, it's easy for security gaps and compliance violation to like slip through. And whereas AWS Control Tower simplifies the compliance and also compliance and security by implementing pre-configured security guardrails like uh, preventive guardrails and the detective guardrails to keep your environment and infrastructure safe. So first one is like pre-configured security guardrails for compliance adherence. So AWS Control Tower includes built-in like preventive and detective guardrails that enforce security policies across all accounts. For example, like it can prevent anyone from launching any server or activating any services or restrict any access from any write or read access from creating any new AWS service. Next is continuous monitoring and policy enforcement. So AWS Control Tower integrates with Security Hub and AWS Config and CloudTrail to monitor the security and compliance continuously. If a policy violation, like any policy violation occurs, the system automatically detects it and alerts the administrators. So this means like your security team doesn't have to manually check for misconfigurations. So AWS Control Tower does it for you. Next is automated compliance reporting and governance at scale, like meeting industry compliance standards like PCI DSS or ISO and HIPAA can be a challenge. So, like AWS Control Tower simplifies compliance by generating audio audit reports automatically. So it generates an compliance reports automatically. So this uh, this ensures that your cloud environments remain secure and adheres to best practices. making the compliance audits much easier. So like you can think of that AWS Control Tower as a security checkpoint at the airport. Like it ensures only authorized activities are allowed, flags and security violations, and like continuous monitoring for suspicious activity, keeping your AWS infrastructure or AWS environment safe at all the times. The last one is that it improves operational efficiency. Efficiency is so crucial when like managing cloud environments. So AWS Control Tower improves your operational efficiency like by automating repetitive tasks and also ensuring security best practices and allowing teams to focus on innovation instead of manual configurations. It also eliminates manual configurations with standardized environments. Like without control tower, setting each new account requires manual configuration or security policies. So with control tower, these all settings are automated and the team can give much more time to the to think about innovative ideas instead of doing settings manually. Next is it also reduces security risk through enforced best practices. Like AWS Control Tower will ensure that all the best practices are taken from day one, and it will also reduce the threats of if there are any security gaps or any unauthorized access. So this next is SCPs. So this is the most important and important and crucial part of AWS control tower, the service control policies. So one of the biggest challenge in managing multiple accounts, I can say, is like ensuring that security and compliance policies are in line consistently across the entire organization. So AWS Control Tower helps you solve these challenges by using these service control policies. So what are the service control policies? So SCPs are the key features of AWS Control Tower will allow the that will allow the organization to set permissions at the organization level rather than at the individual account level. So like SCPs are like they don't grant permission but rather define a maximum permissions that an account can have. This means that even if an IAM policy tries to grant border permissions, the SCP will override it and restrict any actions that don't comply with your governance policies. So, how does SCPs help? So, define SCPs help in defining permission boundaries across all AWS accounts. So, SCPs, this means without SCPs, any individual AWS account can create any type of resource and like modify IAM policies and potentially introduce security risks. So with SCPs, you can enforce organizational policies that prevent specific actions, like ensuring that all AWS accounts comply with your security and operational best practices. Like, for example, you can enforce policies like preventing accounts from disabling security logging or restricting the use of a specific AWS region or blocking the creation of any unauthorized resources. So, in short, SCPs provide a consistent security model across all AWS accounts, and it also ensures that policies are applied like uniformly and cannot be overridden at the account level. So it also prevent security risk by restricting unauthorized actions. So one of the biggest benefits of SCPs is that they help security risk by restricting unauthorized actions before they even happen. Like you might be thinking that how does this improve security? But SCPs work at the organizational level. So, meaning they apply to all AWS accounts under a specific organization unit, unlike IAM policies, like which apply to individual users or roles. SCPs apply at the broader level and ensuring that the security policies are followed across all the accounts. Like they help enforce policies, like even ensuring all the AWS accounts follows best practices and for encryption and data protection. So by implementing SCPs, organization can reduce the risk of accidental misconfiguration or security bridges, ensuring like that AWS accounts remain in the security policies at all times. So now let's take an example of how SCPs enforce the governance in AWS. You can imagine having a multiple AWS account, and you want to ensure that only administrative accounts can create a new IAM user. So if any non-admin account attempts to create an IAM user, the action should be blocked. So, for this, you can create a SCP that explicitly denies IAM user creation for non-administrative accounts. So the SCP is attached at the organization level. It will restrict IAM users across all child accounts for except those in the designated administrative OU. So even if a user in a non-admin account has IAM permission to create a user, the SCP overrides those permission and blocks the action. So this will help that the non-admin accounts cannot create an IAM user. This will also reduce the risk of unauthorized access, and only a designated admin accounts have the necessary permissions, ensuring that strict access control. So this approach will make sure that all the compliances and security and operational efficiency across all the AWS accounts. Last one is that enforce that organizational level for consistency. One of the key benefit of SCP is that they enforce governance at the organizational level, like they ensure that the policies are applied consistently across all the AWS accounts. So this is important because without a centralized governance model, each AWS account could have a different security settings, making it difficult to maintain. So before enforcing SCPs at the organizational level, businesses can maintain consistency security posture across AWS accounts, all the child AWS accounts, uh, reduce operational overhead by eliminating the need for account by account policy management, and also it will improve compliance by ensuring that all accounts follow security and regulatory guidelines. So the key takeaways for SCPs are like SCPs set the foundations for secure and scalable and well governed AWS environment. They ensure that all the policies are enforced at the highest level, uh, making it impossible for individual accounts to override security controls. So if you're managing multiple AWS accounts and need a way to enforce security policies and maintain compliance effortlessly, SCPs in AWS control are a way to go. So these all are the key features which we have discussed above of AWS Control Tower that make a multi-account management simple and secure, like creating and configuring AWS accounts manually, which is time-consuming and also error prone. So AWS Control Tower's account factory automates this process for you, and it is a easy way to go process. Next is a landing zone setup, a secure AWS foundation. Landing zone is a like a blueprint for AWS environment. It ensures that every new account follows best practices, reduce security risk and misconfiguration. So AWS Control Tower also provides you with a centralized governance with AWS organization. So instead of logging into multiple accounts to check the configurations or to check the details of the AWS child accounts, AWS organization lets you enforce policy and manage the access centrally, saving the time and effort both. Next is other guardrails and policies. So with guardrails, organization can ensure that every AWS account follows security policies automatically, and this will also reduce risk and compliance headache. Last is automated IAM and security baseline. So this ensures that only authorized users have access to critical resources, reducing the risk of misconfiguration and security breaches. So we have explored that how AWS Control Tower simplifies multi-account management, enhance security, and enforce governance at scale. So with features like account factory, landing zone, guardrails, and uh, automated IAM and security baselines, AWS Control Tower ensures your AWS infrastructure is secure and compliant and easy to manage. So with that, I'll now handle it over to my colleague Riddhi, who will take us through the next part of today's webinar. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Siddhi. So, hello all, good evening. So, all right, now let's move forward with monitoring and logging in AWS Control Tower. So, this is how you keep an eye on everything happening in your AWS environment. So, one of the biggest concerns with managing multiple AWS accounts is visibility. If you can't track what's going on, security risks and compliance violations can slip through the cracks. So I would like to ask a question that how many of you manage multiple AWS accounts today? And how many of you have faced issues while tracking security events across these accounts? So this is the exactly where monitoring and logging in AWS Control Tower is so important. If we don't have proper monitoring, we have no visibility into what's going on, right? So with AWS Control Tower, we get a centralized automated approach to tracking everything. So let's look at some key features of AWS monitoring tools and services that help us with monitoring. So coming to the first tool, which is AWS Cloud Trail. So now think of AWS Cloud Trail as the CCTV camera for AWS. So it records every single API call, who did what, where, and when. So whether it's someone launching an AWS EC2 instance, modifying some security groups, or even like accessing an S3 bucket, so CloudTrail logs it all and everything. So this is crucial for auditing, troubleshooting, and tracking unauthorized changes. Say, for example, if we take, if an S3 bucket suddenly becomes public, then CloudTrail logs will tell you who made it and changed it, and also it will tell you when did they change it. So next, coming to the second key feature, that is AWS config. Now CloudTrail tells you what happened, but AWS config goes a step further. It tracks and changes in resources over time. Say if someone modifies a security group, or like accidentally turns off encryption, then the conflict flags it, and you can even set up rules like all S3 bucket must have encryption enabled, and AWS config will notify you if something violates that. Say, for example, if someone disables encryption on the RDS instance, then the AWS config will flag it and it will just notify it. So you will get to know. Now, the next third key feature is AWS Security Hub. So this is your command center for security findings. So it pulls data from AWS config, guard duty, and many other security tools into a single dashboard. So instead of checking each service separately, Security Hub gives you a holistic view of your security posture, like a security operations center in a box. And there are also some real world use cases, like large enterprises use Security Hub to track compliance against frameworks like DSS, PCI, and NIST. So coming to the fourth key feature, which is AWS Amazon CloudWatch. So CloudWatch is all about performance monitoring. It collects logs, metrics, and events from applications, then the AWS infrastructure, and even some custom logs. So you can set up the dashboards to visualize your CPU usage, then the memory consumption, and network traffic as well. And plus, with the CloudWatch alarms, you can get alerts if, say, an EC2 instance starts using excessive resources. Say, for example, if an EC2 instance is suddenly using 90% CPU for an extended period, so CloudWatch triggers an alarm instantly. Then coming to the fifth key feature, which is AWS Guard Duty. So Guard Duty is like an AI-powered security analyst. It continuously monitors your AWS environment using machine learning to detect some unusual or suspicious activities. Like, say someone is trying to SSH into your instance from a weird location, or let's say an EC2 instance suddenly is communicating with an unknown malicious IP. Say, for example, if an EC2 instance starts communicating with a known malware IP, then the guard duty will alert security terms. And the last but not the least is integration with AWS organizations. So a big advantage of AWS Control Tower is that it works with AWS organizations. So all your security and logging data is centrally managed. So there is no more logging into multiple AWS accounts to check logs. Everything flows into a centralized logging bucket or security dashboard. So the key benefits are that you get a proactive security monitoring as it will catch issues before they become major problem. Then also you get automated compliance checks as there will be no need to manually verify security settings. And last but not the least, you can have centralized logging, which simplifies troubleshooting and incident responses. So next, these are some of the best practices for implementing AWS Control Tower. So now that we know how AWS Control Tower handles security, let's discuss the best practices to make the most of it. So the first one is plan your organizational structure. So before deploying AWS Control Tower, take a step back and think about how your accounts should be structured. AWS organizations lets you group accounts into organizational units, which is basically OUs. For example, separate OUs for development, then testing and production. So this way you can apply different security and access policies per environment. Then the next is customize your landing zone. So AWS Control Tower gives you a default landing zone, but doesn't just accept the defaults. Customize it to fit your organization's needs. Say, for example, set up IAM rules, then network configurations, some security groups, and also some integration and encryption settings to align with your internal security policies. Then the third is implement guardrails for security and compliance. So AWS Control Tower comes with two types of guardrails. The first is preventive guardrails and the second is detective guardrails. So basically preventive guardrails, these guardrails block risky actions like making an S3 bucket public. And the second one, detective guardrails, monitor compliance and alerts if something violates security policies. Then the fourth one is enable centralized access management. So in this, instead of managing your user access account by account, use AWS IAM Identity Center. So this lets employees sign in once and securely access different AWS accounts without even juggling multiple credentials. Then next is automate infrastructure deployment. So to avoid manual errors, you can use infrastructure as a code with AWS Cloud Formation or Terraform. So in this way, every time you create a new AWS account, your security settings, networking, and IAM policies are applied automatically to each and every account. Then next comes enabling the security and compliance services. So we already covered AWS Config, Security Hub, Guard Duty, and CloudTrail previously. So turning these on from day one, so you are always monitoring security risks and compliance violations. Then next is regularly review and optimize governance policies. So finally, governance isn't a set it and forget it process. So, like, you have to conduct regular security audits and check cost optimization reports, which consultants do, and refine your security rules over time. So, security and compliance from day one must be followed to give you the best practices. Then also you can have standardized processes across all your AWS accounts. And last but not the least, less manual work, and you can thank it to automation. Then next comes the governance gaps. So even with AWS Control Tower, organizations, still face governance challenges. So let's look at the key gaps and why they matter. So challenges in the multi-account management. So for firstly, we have lack of visibility across AWS accounts. So without a proper monitoring, it's really very hard to track security risks across multiple AWS accounts. Then next comes the compliance complexities. So different industries, have different compliance requirements. Like suppose say ISO, SOC certifications, then HIPA certifications. So keeping a track manually is a nightmare. Then next comes security and access control issues. So ensuring least privilege access is difficult when there are multiple teams accessing resources. And last one is operational efficiencies. So manually configuring security, then networking and governance settings for each and every account is slow and error prone. So there is a need for the governance framework. So AWS Control Tower provides a structured way to govern cloud environments. So in that, first one is centralized governance. So centralized governance is a one place to manage security, access, and compliance. Then next comes the automated policy enforcement. In this, we have guardrails which ensures the security best practices are followed. And last but not the least is scalability. So AWS Control Tower makes it very easy to create and manage multiple AWS accounts in a controlled and compliant manner. Then next are the real world use cases and customer success stories. So in this, we have enterprise cloud adoption use case. So let's look at the real world scenario where AWS Control Tower made a difference. So let's come to challenge. So they had a challenge that there was a large enterprise needed to manage dozens of AWS accounts while maintaining security and compliance. So, manually provisioning accounts and enforcing policies, and also like tracking security settings became unmanageable to them. So, the solution which we gave them was they we implemented the AWS Control Tower to automate the account provisioning. So the new AWS account were created and with pre-configured security settings. Then also for security enforcement, we applied preventive and detective guardrails and also ensured compliance. And also we applied a centralized logging. So in this, we get all logs were routed to a single security monitoring account. And the outcome that you have is we got 30% faster cloud adoption with improved security posture and management. And we also got some reduced operational overhead. So AWS Control Tower basically simplifies governance in multi-account setups. Also, it automates the security and compliance, also reduces the operational risk to your AWS accounts, and some scalability and standardization makes it easier to manage cloud adoption. So, so these are some key takeaways where AWS Control Tower simplifies the governance in multi-account setups. Then the second it does is automates security and compliance, and it also reduces some operational risk. And last but not the least is organizations of all sizes can benefit from structured cloud adoption. Say like maintaining scalability and standardization makes it easier to manage cloud adoption. So yes, you are free to raise your concerns or any queries that you have. You can just comment in the chat box and we can revert you. So are there any questions from your end?
So far, there
And
are no questions, Riddhi. Uh, I will
okay,
let you know if there are any questions. I'm checking the question section and chat box.
sure.
Thank you, Riddhi, and thank you, Siddhi, for this informative session. And all right, everyone, we have covered a lot of ground today, from understanding the core benefits of AWS Control Tower to seeing the practical examples of how it simplifies multi-account governance. So if you need any assistance in Control Tower implementation for your organization, please reach out to us at sales@cloud.in. And if you have any questions, we'll wait for a minute or two, and you can raise your electronic hand and I will unmute you, or you can type the questions in the question section. Additionally, we have already pasted one link in the chat box. It's a feedback link. So we'd definitely like to get your feedback to improve the session experience for you. So please fill that form. Vidya, I guess we can conclude the session because there are no questions. Thank you all for joining us today. We hope this session has provided valuable insights and practical guidance. We appreciate your time and engagement. Don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any further questions. Have a wonderful day.